With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
You set the table, put on a playlist, even made the lasagna from scratch. And now you're wearing it. OxyClean Max Force Spray tackles tough, set-in stains the first time. Adulting is hard. Fighting stains shouldn't be. OxyClean Max Force. It's not clean unless it's OxyClean.
Welcome back to YA OK. I am Alyssa, and I don't know why I said that so weird. I'm Alyssa, and this is.
I think I'm Erik.
I think you're Erik. I don't know. I guess we're figuring it out today. Welcome back to another episode.
We're nervous you know what? Somebody's watching us. I think that's what it is.
Yes. And it's been a little while. I think since we've recorded, like a couple of weeks. Not really, but
yeah, we had our little summer break.
Yeah, we had like a little summer siesta a little bit. And today we had Zach Sergi on. Did I say that right? Yes. Okay. Because right before I was like, Sergi? And then we clarified. And then I also had to clarify.
It goes right out of your head immediately afterwards. Anytime I ask somebody to for the correct pronunciation of their name, even if I'm right, like all the time, I'm just verifying and I have never said it wrong. However, just to be clear. And then as soon as I go to say it, I'm like, fuck.
And that's the first time I've ever said it wrong. Yeah. Anyway, we had such a great time. We were talking a lot about obviously his books and his whole Sergiverse that he's created. We talked a little bit about video games. I also was holding on to this story because I need to tell you because it's related to video games, but it's also really funny and stupid. And I'm going to tell it very quickly. A friend of mine sent me a VR headset. And
like the meta thing?
Yes. And so I used it for the first time and I was like just kind of playing around. Like I was like, this is amazing. Like we could just buy this and have it in our house. This is insane. So I was like, I want to have an experience that felt very immersive. So I put the headset on and I'm looking at the menu and like there's one that's like immersive experiences or something simulation. And it was like Titanic simulation. And so here's the thing. I saw that and I was like, surely this is you just going onto a turn of the century boat to see like the beautiful ballroom and like explore rooms on this gorgeous, decorated, like I was gonna say church boat. Certainly not. Because I get into
it picks up 10 minutes after the iceberg hits. You have an hour to get off the ship.
No. Exactly that, Erik. Exactly that. So I get on, and first of all, the worst graphics I've ever seen in my life. It's literally like no decorations at all. And I was like, well, this is disappointing. Already I'm disappointed. And then it's also, you hear the boat cracking, and you hear people screaming, and you hear the song, the music of the band going down. And it also was online, and I didn't realize that. So I'm on this boat, and I'm like, oh, this is not the experience I thought it was going to be. This thing is sinking. Who wants to experience this? And then there's like a 10-year-old playing online who's yelling at me saying, get to the other side of the boat. And I was like, I'm thinking this is not for me.
This is wild.
It was an adventure. And so that was my Titanic
play that
simulation. It was ridiculous. I was like, this is so absurd. Why would anyone want to live in the moments of the Titanic sinking?
I'm going to be real. I was out until you told me it was online, because then it becomes a social experiment, because it's like, all right, in 1912, everybody was kind of they were polite back then. There was even the rich old white dudes were like, all right, let's try and get the women and children on the boat. I'm going to help with this.
Yeah.
And like, no, now everybody's, especially a 10-year-old, is going to be like, no,
yelling
get out of my way. I'm going to push children into this icy water in order to get on that boat.
Yeah, it was something else. I personally don't recommend, but but it was fun. And I was thinking about that when you were talking about love and video games. I was like, I had the weirdest video game experience recently, and that was it. So I'm glad I could share that.
Just kind of, anybody can just be like, oh, I had a weird video game experience recently. And it's like, yeah, that's video games now. They're all pretty weird.
You're so right. And you're so right. But anyway, we had a really great time talking to Zach. And do you have any other things you want to add, Erik? I feel like I yapped Tina Aguilera all over this intro.
No, because I feel like we have a really good conversation just about, because Zach's journey to publication is very different than I feel like a lot of people, especially that have been on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think let's jump into it, because I think there's we gotta go through the whole journey of his publication, and let's just hop right in. 5 long years, our lives like magnetic fields. You are my universe. You are my universe, and I'm just a planet. Hi, Zach.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having
I'm actually
me.
surprised that we have not had you on yet. I think I was probably just waiting for your new book to get closer to coming out before I wanted to have you on.
It's been a couple of years since the last one too, so it's perfect timing. Yeah.
Well, actually, tell us. I want to talk about Love and Video Games first, because that is your new book. It's coming out September 16th. Talk about that, because then I want to talk about your first two technically your first two books, because you have other books, but it's like they were your first, like I think they were only like ebooks, right? They were
yes,
ebooks.
Yeah. I've had a very winding journey into publishing,
which we'll also talk about there.
I'm sure we'll get into that, but yes,
that's what the roadmap is for this whole talk. We're gonna start with your newest book, and then we'll go into your whole like how your publishing journey, and then the other ones too. I think that's a good way to do it. So start with Love and Video Games.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, to give a hint at where I started, I wrote what I guess you can call them game books. They're interactive novels. So it's fascinating now. This is my first traditionally published, I don't even know what to call it, linear traditional novel. It's a non-interactive novel. True. Well, yes, I had one published through an indie publisher. So, but I'm talking like Big Five publisher, right?
Okay,
which there's some differences to the experience, which we can also talk about.
Oh yeah, actually, that's a great idea. I do want to talk about that.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's called Love and Video Games, and it's there are so many touch points. I always have to try to see if I can get them all. So it's a queer rom-com about teen with chronic pain who enters an in-person augmented reality video game tournament with all of his best friends who he's never met before. Yeah, and his biggest crush, and they all meet in New York City together. And it's based. The video game is called Pantheonic, and it's a video game that's action RPG based on world mythology. I think that's everything. There's a few.
You're like, you got the spiel.
yeah, exactly. I could have just picked up the book and read the inside jacket, but it's more fun if I try to struggle
Our
through
listeners
it.
can do that on their own. They're probably going to Goodreads right now and be like, let's see.
Yeah, exactly.
I like some of this things. I'm going to add this to my to-reread thing. And then they'll be like, oh, look, Erik J. Brown rated it 5 stars. Wow, what an exciting story.
Absolutely true. And blurbed it. So thank you again for that.
Love it. I love it. So how did you, I guess I want to talk about, let's visit the roadmap actually, because I think that's kind of going to bring us along the journey here, because I'm curious how you got to a story like that. But I also, do you have graphic novels as well?
No, but I've written, the interactive novels were about superheroes. So it's
they look like the covers of them look like graphic novels. They're very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been so lucky to work with incredible artists. And actually for the interactive game books, we eventually hired, there was a bunch of fan art. It was like the early 2010s when this was all coming out. And we hired fan artists to do the covers. So it was a very organic process. Yeah, I love those covers.
They're so beautiful.
Thank you.
Erik, lead us down the roadmap. Where would you like to begin? You have a vision for this.
I want to stay with love and video games for a second because I want to know, like, how did you kind of just get this idea? Because I feel like it's pretty, I don't want to say like current because that sounds weird, but like there's like a lot of kids that now are watching video game streamers. Like they don't even play the video games, and there'll be people who sit there and they will watch streamers play it. And then there's like all of these games that are suddenly now becoming like a competitive video game, and it's called esports, and people will go to like convention centers and they have all these like computers and consoles and stuff set up where people will play in tournaments against each other for like a whole weekend, and people just kind of sit there and like watch these people play video games. So I just want to know, like, what research did you do? Do you play video games? Are you a video game fan?
Gotcha. Okay. So I can start with where the idea came from and then my relationship to video games. So the idea came from, this is my third book with Running Press, which is an imprint of Hachette. So it was a proposal situation. So I was working with the same editor. This is my first two books, Major Detours and So You Want to Be a Pop Star. And those, which we can talk about later, are also interactive novels. So they're kind of like choose your own adventure, all grown up.
Love.
Yeah. So we had originally conceived Love and Video Games as an interactive novel. So we were thinking it was going to be another, reader involved story. So that's kind of where the video game, we wanted to get the reader in the video game. And so it kind of started that way. And then they ended up changing the mandate and wanted to do a traditional linear novel, which I was thrilled with because I love writing interactive, but it is 2 times the work. There's no way around it. It is just twice as much work. So, so that's where the idea came from. My editor, Brittany, is a huge gamer, and we were batting around 3 or 4 ideas. Like, we're at the stage where I sent in a few log lines, and a book called Enter the Meta came out. I think I try to keep an eye on books that are coming out every week as best I can. And it was a video game thing. And my editor knows that I'm obsessed with K-pop and pop stars, and she's equally obsessed with KDA, which is the League of Legends K-pop group that was never, it's huge now with K-pop Demon Hunters, Huntrix, but KDA was kind of the original Huntrix. And so it was something in the line of like, what if we did pop stars in a video game that evolved into, once it went through the acquisitions process, just a video game. And the twist on it that I really liked was, and to my knowledge, this doesn't exist, but it was half action RPG and then this augmented reality component. So that's like the closest analog is Pokemon Go. So the idea that you're completing tasks in the real world at this tournament that then apply to the video game. So that's where the idea came from, but it was a boring acquisitions, getting log lines and proposals through the team. And then my own relationship with video games is interesting. So I'm a big gamer. I love reality competition games. I love like Mario Kart, and I play a bunch of like online mobile games. I'm a big fan of this one called Marvel Strike Force. So I have a relationship with gaming, and I love making games. I myself had never played a big action RPG like this. So League of Legends, World of Warcraft, there's a lot of them out there. So that part I kind of had to fake. And in the early drafts, did not fake it very well. The blessing and the curse of that editor, Brittany, is a huge gamer in that realm. So was able to fill in all the cracks of my knowledge, but then also was a little bit too intense about getting it right sometimes. So we had to find the balance of how much is enough, because we wanted this to be for casual readers. So we want people who are gamers to read it and feel like we got everything right. But it was designed for people who are maybe have have no idea about how these video games work.
I think you succeeded in that too. Because I play video games, but I'm not like a gamer. I play video games when I'm like, hey, my brain is fried. I need to shut it off and just stare at a screen and move things around and just think about other things for like 2 hours. I am not the kind of person who I don't think I could sit there and I can't, there's one video game that I loved and tried to play, but it was so fucking hard that I was getting annoyed.
Which one?
And it was the newest. They're making another one. Though it's called Witcher 3. It's the Witcher one. It's like they have a Netflix show. They're based on books. it's a great game. It's amazing. Like everybody's probably like, yeah, it's one of the best video games of all time. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you how fucking annoying this game is. If you're not like a gamer, if you're not like totally locked in, like, yes, I am here. First of all, it's really fucking hard.
Yep.
Second, you're like fighting monsters, but all of the monsters have different like weaknesses. And so there's a reading component where every time you get into a fight, you have to pause the game, go into the bestiary to look up these monsters to see what their weaknesses are. And then they're like all monsters have some kind of oil that they're weak to that you then have to put on your sword. And they have like certain magic spells they're weak to. So you have to go and look what oil you then have to apply to your sword. And then you have to figure out what magic spell you're going to use against them. And then while you're fighting, your armor that you're wearing and your weapon actually degrades. So then you have to go and fix it. Otherwise it doesn't kill things. Oh my God. So much.
They're very involved. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I love these games that it's funny. So I had a couple of friends who were huge gamers. So I would literally go to their apartment while they played Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring, yeah. Yeah, it's Elden Ring. Yes.
Elden Ring, yeah. That's written by, which that's the one that George R.R. Martin writes instead of writing the Winds of Winter books.
I love experiencing these video games. I have terrible hand-eye coordination, so I'm like a terrible athlete, but it also makes me a terrible gamer. I also think there's something about when you're writing, especially if you're writing full-time, so much video games are such a wonderful creative outlet, but the last thing I need to do at the end of the day when I've been like doing that in a book all day is like apply the same skills to a video game. So I need like you, Erik, I need something mindless. I'm sure there are plenty of writers out there who can do both, but it's a skill that has eluded me. So it was fun to write about it. My TikTok feed for months was just like, Twitch streams of other people playing video games so I could get a sense of it.
I feel like that's part of why some people watch Twitch streamers, because it's like people like me who it's like, okay, well, this game's too hard, but I really like it. Exactly. I like the visuals. I like the story. So I'm just going to watch somebody else play it, because it's kind of like watching a movie, but it's just longer and
a little more involved. A long time ago, I worked at an advertising agency, and we were working on a launch of like a gummy or something, and they wanted to engage with the gaming community. I don't know why. And so we were talking to a representative at Twitch, and I'm a gamer as far as like The Sims. And that's that's where I live.
Beautiful.
And so watching people play video games on Twitch, I was kind of like, I'm not really understanding, because can't you just like pick up the game and play it yourself? And the way that the guy explained it to us was, he was like, it's the same thing as like, I could go outside and play basketball if I want to, but it's a completely different experience if I'm going to watch the literal NBA. And I was like, that's what it is. You want to watch pros. You want to watch pros and see how they do, like what strategies they have. And I was like, wow, okay, you actually don't need to explain anymore. That was exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. Got it.
Yeah. It's interesting. One of the storylines in the book is they're not pro gamers, the teens, they're casual gamers. So going to a tournament like this where they are faced with pro gamers, one of the storylines that comes up is like, do we actually, like, does this take the fun out of it? Right. This used to be our escape. This was our safe space. We're good at this, but like, do we want to be good enough that this is like, when something you love becomes kind of a job or a huge competition, it changes it. So.
Yeah,
I love
for
that
sure.
too. Like, I think that's a big thing with, like, I play one game that's it's called Dead by Daylight, and I have streamed on Twitch doing it too, because it's like I'll do it sometimes when I'm like just talking about books. I'll have people come on, and that way I'm like playing this game as I'm talking about my books. But it's a competitive game. It's like 4 people against 1, and there's some people who take it very, very seriously. And then I'm just the kind of person who's like, no, I'm just here for like the vibes. I'm here for the whimsy. It's fun.
Here for the vibes.
I just want to have fun. And then there's other people who are like, I'm going to play the sweatiest ever. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad you had fun. Whatever you need. We all need to have fun.
Exactly.
However you're having fun, have it.
Yeah, it's been very nice. I try not to read reviews, but in kind of early comments, a bunch of people have said, the guy who wrote this obviously knew a lot about video games and is a gamer. So that was like the highest compliment to me.
Yes.
And 90% of that has to go to my editor, Brittany. Like that was her expertise that they're seeing, not mine. So, but we pulled off the magic trick, which is nice.
I think that's what everybody hopes for when you have an editor that like just happens to know enough about the topic you're writing that they can catch any things that might come up.
It got a little. Sometimes it was like, okay, Brittany, we don't need to know like the grip strength of a, like there was like certain details that was like we're too in the weeds. So it was a balance of me kind of pulling back sometimes, but I knew there was a bedrock of she's not going to let anything be in this book that doesn't belong. Yeah.
But so are the characters in a video game that is like what I'm imagining is the way it feels when you're in VR?
So they're playing. It's a computer game, right? So the closest. Oh my god, I should have remembered. I have a whole like research packet, but it's kind of like the easiest visuals, like in Fortnite, how the character's like running in front of you.
Yes.
So you're playing on a computer with a keyboard, and you're in an open world, and the character that is you that you have designed, that is kind of like a D&D World of Warcraft designed deity from mythology pantheon, is running in front of you.
Got it.
So that's the way the video game feels. And it was an interesting challenge. There are chapters that take place entirely in the video game. So it was a real challenge and many drafts to figure out. We do shift perspective. So like when you're in the video game, you're the character, right? So but it's still the main character perspective. It was a trick we pulled off, and there were a lot of books that we referenced to get there. But the first draft was a mess because I just had the main character Keegan describing the game the whole time, which was too many layers removed. So we got him directly into his main character avatar, who is also female. So there was just a bunch of craft tricks we had to iron out to make it feel seamless.
Yeah. Wow, that's a challenge. That feels like. I feel like at a certain point, if I were writing that book, I would be like, I fear I have bitten off more than I can chew.
That was the conversation. We talked a lot about like, how have you made a book that is more complicated than your interactive book? Like this was supposed to be simpler. Like, how did we end up here?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny.
But I think we ironed it out at the end.
Actually feels similar to the journey of the characters being like, is this not fun anymore because we're in over our head? You actually were mirroring that.
So in over, because it was like, oh yeah, let me pick something I don't really know like the world of, and then also this incredibly difficult POV trick. Like, how are you going to pull that off?
Right. You did it.
Yes, with a lot of help, but I did it. Yes.
I love it.
So let's go back to your publishing journey. Start at the beginning for us and explain to everybody what an interactive novel is too.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're going back in the history in the 80s, 70s, I think 80s is when it really started. There were two big, interactive novels that came up, the Choose Your Own Adventure line, which I think is, everyone knows. And actually that is the name of the brand, not the name of the genre. So everyone calls it Choose Your Own Adventure, but it's like calling, tissues Kleenex or soda.
That's how you get sued.
Exactly. And they are litigious. So, and then there were some kind of like D&D adjacent fantasy novels. And then there were some like simple text interactive novel games where you would enter commands. So that was like kind of the background of the genre. I grew up in the 90s reading the Goosebumps, you choose the scary ones.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was my first interaction with it. I actually tried writing one of those when I was like a little kid and was, flipping between pages. It was about a slasher. I was obsessed with Scream, and I know you did last summer. So it's in that energy. So anyway, that's the kind of history. In the early 2010s, a company called Choice of Games, which is now a big publisher, it was just two friends. It was like their side project at the time, wanted to create a publishing house that did interactive novels, but digitally, so that you could code in more complicated storylines, right? Because with those, you're limited by, flipping between pages, and you can't get too complicated without the reader having to write a bunch of stuff out. So that was the philosophy behind the company. I had just graduated from college. It was 2011 that... It was a very long story how I came to them. I was a writer in a Disney Channel think tank, got a manager from that, and the manager connected me to this company that was looking for writers. I had nothing else going on, and they were like, I pitched them a superhero idea. So I've always been a huge fan of Marvel specifically, and this was kind of before the big boom of the MCU. But I wanted to write superheroes that were super diverse, queer, disability rep, kind of a wide world with stuff we weren't seeing, especially in gaming and in the Marvel universe at the time. So I pitched them this idea, they bought it, and then they're like, okay, go write an interactive novel. I had to learn how to write it in their coding language. These are the things that I was like 22, 23, and you have the industrious time to take on. So, and there was no precedent for could develop this, they call it smart math. It's a system where so it's not so much every choice you make, you don't have to record what the reader's doing. It adds to a statistical trend. So as an author, what you're trying to do is keep track of the trends of the decisions via this smart math component. So it kind of adds relative. If you make a decision that's consistent, it kind of adds a little bit. If you make a decision that's inconsistent, it swings you back. And so you can then test the decision trends. So it makes it a little easier on the author because you're not keeping track of every single decision. And right, it's more like, so for example, in the first one, you're a superhero and there's a stat that says, are you lawless or are you lawful? So I could then test, like, when you come across the police, have you been breaking the law a ton or following the law a ton? And then they'll react to you according to decision trends, not just one set decision. So anyway, that first book was called Heroes Rise. I wrote it in a year. I had no idea what I was doing. Certainly didn't think anyone but my parents would read it. It was one of these things where it's like, I'm writing a novel in code for an app. Oh, so by the way, this was also 2011. Netflix still came in red envelopes. I had a BlackBerry, right? like this. So I was like, I don't even.
Better times.
Right. It's wild. This wasn't that long ago, right? This was 15 years. But I didn't have an iPhone. I didn't really understand what an app even was. So I was like, I'm writing this book for an app for a device that I don't have. People are going to pay for it. No one paid for apps back then. It was not a thing, right? You had the free ones. So I certainly just didn't think. So I just wrote what I thought was cool and would work. And the good news is that it ended up becoming a bit of a cult classic for the readers who were interested in it. Ton of fan art, and it spawned a series. So I ended up writing 5 Heroes Rise novels, and then 3 of a series called Verses, and they're kind of an interrelated, Brandon Sanderson-esque interrelated universe. And that was the first decade of my career, basically, was writing those while I was in LA trying to do TV stuff. And then fast forwarding a bunch, I had written a print. So I'll try not to get too in the weeds here. I was writing YA TV pitches and pilots and realized, okay, the only stuff that is selling is IP, right? So books that exist. So I was like, I can write books now. Let me try to write my own young adult book, get it published, and then turn it into a TV show. That was like the ambitious plan. So that is where This Pact Is Not Ours, which is ended up being my 3rd published print novel, came from. Wrote it with my agent, sent it around, didn't end up selling, but it introduced me to editor Brittany, who we've heard about, obviously. And she was like, I can't buy this book, but I've read Zach's interactive stuff, Heroes Rise and Verses. Would he be interested in turning that format into a print novel? The answer was yes. And very long story short, that is where the first print novel, Major Detours, came from. But I've been doing a lot of talking, so I will stop now. There's a question in there.
That's actually, I feel like that's the second time we've heard somebody where an editor comes to them with something that we've talked to them. Because I think we were talking with Kirsten White. She did a Buffy YA novel. And cool. I think she did 2 of them, I want to say. Yeah, 2 of them. And the way she got that was she just happened to be at this book festival and talking with an editor, and was just talking about how much she loved Buffy. And this editor, I think this was probably 4 or 5 years later, this editor sent a message to her agent saying, hey, I'm doing IP stuff with 20th Century Fox. Does Kirsten want to write a Buffy book?
Dream.
And so it was I feel like that's kind of exciting when an editor comes to you and says, hey, you've done this, or you like this, and I thought about you. Are you interested in doing this? Because then you're immediately going to be like, yes, of course I'm going to do this.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So first of all, Buffy is my number. When people ask me what matters most to me as a writer, Buffy is always the answer. So I love to hear that. I'm also putting that out there because I would love to write a Buffy book also. It's funny when
I want to put us in the writer's room for the reboot.
Well, funny enough, I have a TV agent. So we don't do much these days. But when that came up, I was like, hey, this is the dumbest email I'll ever send in my life. Is there any shot of getting a pilot? And she said something, it was something like 9,000 writers have sent in. It was something so wild. That I was like, okay, you really have to know the showrunners to get in that room.
Yeah.
I think they should just do a full-on Hunger Games style competition reality show of writers who want to be in the writer's room, and you just have to kill every other writer in order to do it. because I feel like
God.
so many would.
Yes,
Like Kirsten White would fucking stab me with a trident to probably get into
with a trident.
and she'd still have a better chance at doing it.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think the showrunners of the Buffy, it's not a reboot, whatever you want to call it, is, but because Sarah's in it, obviously.
I guess
A continuation, a reboot, but it's not like they're it's like it's a continuation of the story.
New Sunnydale, so
yeah. But I think it's the showrunners and writers of Poker Face. No, it was a different Killing Eve. It was some big show, so they probably have a camp of writers that they just
I know the director was Chloe Zhao.
Yes, yeah. It's a kick-ass team.
Whoever did the Nomadland.
Yes, yeah. So anyway,
Eternals.
Getting off of the famously wonderful Eternals, but anyway, so it was interesting because the first book, I always say like I'd never ever enter any professional thing through the front door. I'm always like invited in through a back window. So this was very much that, where it was like, okay, we're not going to buy this book that you've been trying to sell, but can you do this other thing? So it was a proposal. And very long story short, on Major Detours is I'd become known for an interactive style that some people love and many readers hate if you go down Reddit rabbit holes. I can't look at Reddit with my name attached.
No, it's not worth it.
And also a lot of the interactive books live on Steam, which is typically a gaming platform, but because they're sold as apps and on computers, you can buy them on Steam. And the Steam reviews are, for some of them, lovely and some of them quite horrible. I'll never forget one night I was with a bunch of my college friends and we were playing, I think they went to go download a Jackbox party pack. And for some reason I was like, let's Google Zach. Like Zach's books are on Steam. And they went to the worst one and then started reading all the bad reviews out loud, which sounds like terrible. God. It was actually the most cathartic, like to be in a room full of your people who love you most, like hysterically laughing at the things that people say about, because at that point they like knew who I was and it wasn't the comments weren't about the books. It was like, Zach hates this and Zach does that. So it was actually like cathartic. It took so much of the air out of them because it was like, totally. These things that would kill me if I read them alone in my room, right? Like are making us all cry with laughter. So anyway.
Well, and part of it is when you're reading them with people who like actually know the real you and they're laughing, you're like, okay, I'm not an imposter. They also think this is ridiculous. And not true. Yes. And now we get to giggle about it.
Exactly. And so many of my friends are not, that group of friends specifically are not big readers in this genre. And so they didn't really get what I had. No one, the long arc of that part of my career is like no one got what I did. So them even reading, they were like, how did this many people care about this weird thing that you do, Zach? So it was affirming unexpectedly on many levels. But so the style that I have been adored and ridiculed for is more linear, as I would call it. So there's a backbone of a plot and the choices you make are more about defining your main character and what they believe and what their powers are. So it's a bit like a D&D campaign in that sense. And I'm like a dungeon master. So you're going through one plot and then how it fares scene to scene is up to you. And also one of the cornerstones of choice of game is that you're never really making a right or wrong decision. Every choice that you make in the book is, what am I gaining? What am I sacrificing? So it's more about defining what matters to you than like, solving a puzzle correctly. So anyway, we applied that to Major Detours. So it ended up being a plot where you read it from front to back, so you're not jumping all around, but every time you make a choice, you skip a certain number of pages. And then every time you make a choice, there's a little statistical kind of like worksheet in the back, and you can calculate who you are as a reader by the end of it. And it's cool. It's a road trip that has to do with you completing a tarot deck that you inherited from your grandmother, and you find out it was the work of a charismatic cult leader who has this like tarot cult. So they're after you because you have this like holy grail deck, and you're trying to figure out what it means. So yeah, that's Major Detours. That's the first one.
I kept my mouth open so long while you were explaining that I yawned. my jaw was like, surely this is what you're trying to do.
Oh, we're doing this? Okay, sure.
That's also such a great story to have it tie into like a cult leader. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fun one to write. And it's ultimately a road trip. So they're going along the West Coast trying to find these missing cards that are I love that book. I'm glad it exists.
I feel like at some point I want it to like you just need to become like a superstar bestseller just so they can like republish Major Detours, but like in a special edition where it also comes with a whole tarot deck. because I feel like that's what we need.
There was talk in the beginning of making, so there's a lot of original tarot. So as if it's like, I always make things so difficult for myself. So not only were we like inventing a new format, we had to decide everything, like how did the choices, everything was custom designed, right? Like about how this book looks. We had a brilliant production designer who helped us with a ton of it on the back end. But our incredible cover artist also made, and we didn't do tarot cards, but we did tarot symbols. So every chapter has a different major arcana original tarot artwork. So there was talk, and my publisher, Running Press Kids/Teens, they do a lot of novelty books and kind of like, so the stuff you see at Barnes and Noble that's like not on a bookshelf but is like book related. So like they do publish tarot card decks. So in the beginning there was talk of maybe making one. So maybe for an anniversary or something, if people care enough, that would be very cool. The art exists. It would be just a matter of getting it onto cards.
See, I think I would buy another copy just to have the tarot deck.
Yeah. That would be very cool. Special edition.
Maybe
what about I want to talk about So You Want to Be a Pop Star, because I've learned that one as well, and it wasn't just like, you didn't just make an interactive novel, you also decided to write lyrics, which I think is insane.
It is insane.
Because it's like, that is, anytime I see that the writer has written an entire song and put lyrics into a book, I'm like, wow, this writer's good, because I cannot write lyrics. That's impossible.
So several background points here. So I'm a huge fan of, I'm the only person who's seen every single second of American Idol, The Voice, all that. I'm like obsessed with
including the new seasons.
I often joke I'm the only person keeping American Idol.
I have never watched one episode.
You're keeping it alive.
You're missing out. I mean, it was so much more fun back in those first 9 seasons.
I can imagine,
when it was like, the Super Bowl, everyone watched. It was monoculture. It was so much more fun back then. No one can even name a winner from the last 10 seasons. But so that book was born out of like the love of singing competitions. And I always am like, I love music. Could I write lyrics? Probably not. The interesting thing was that the lyrics that were written were from an 18-year-old singer-songwriter's perspective, female's perspective. So it's like, I'm writing lyrics, but also like, these are not my, like if I were to write a song, I don't know what it would look like, but it's like, she was like halfway between like Haim and Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift. So it's like, but also my favorite music of all time remains to this day, like Michelle Branch, that, that era of like girl pop rock that spawned the whole Disney Channel sound is like, I love that so much. So it's like, okay, I just put on a bunch of like, The Spirit Room and Hotel Paper by Michelle Branch and wrote some like maybe teen girl emo lyrics. I truly can't read those any, like you look at your work, it's like, these don't belong to me. I can't, it's not come from me. I don't. But yeah, so the trick of that book is that it's I don't know if you're familiar. So there are a bunch of famous pop bands that have been made on reality shows. So Little Mix in the UK is one of them. One Direction is the most famous example. It's kind of come back around a little bit with that Netflix show Building the Band, which is done relatively well.
Which I forget their name, but I hated it when I heard it. I was like, oh, I hate that.
Oh, the name of the winners?
Yeah.
Okay, spoiler alert for anyone who you should have seen it by now, but it's Frequency, so it's like frequency but with a 3 in the beginning.
I hate it, but I also love it because it kind of reminds me of Girls 5 Eva too.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
That kind of like level of stupid that I'm like, okay, I kind of like this.
It's, all like Destiny's Child. Like if you think about all these names, they're a little.
Destiny's Child at least sounds interesting.
Yeah, Frequency. Yeah, it's tough. But I will say, I watched every episode of that, and it was so, you can always tell the difference between like, okay, they're talented and they're putting together a good show for a reality competition, and then it was like Frequency would perform, and it's like, oh, you're like at the Grammy. Like there was something special happening there. They were so good, so I'm rooting for them hardcore. But so the idea of So You Want to Be a Pop Star is that it's 5 solo singers who are the final 5 in a reality competition for teens, and the producer, they do one of those cheesy group performances. That's one of the singer-songwriter songs. It goes super viral on TikTok, and the producers of the show are like, surprise, all 5 of you are winners and you're in a band now. But they're all from different genres. None of them had the intention of being in a band. And they also had this big finale party where they like professed love and hate for each other. And then all of a sudden they're supposed to like move into a house and figure out how to be a band. So half the book is from the perspective of Everly, who is a kind of wannabe Taylor Swift, and is like, I'm a singer-songwriter. I can't be in a group. Like, this is not my artistic muse. And then the other half is an aspiring drag queen who wants to be like, the next Adam Lambert kind of big pop star. So it's them working it out, and they all want this opportunity, but they don't want to be in a band, and they're all sleeping together and hating each other. So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's super juicy. So anyway, that's So You Want to Be a Pop Star. And if we want to, it's been interesting. It has, I don't know how much you talk about sales and that kind of stuff here, but I try to be transparent about that stuff. And it's one of those things that just like didn't find its groove. It didn't connect the same way as Major Detours. I have found with a lot of other YA pop books about pop stars, like Adib Khorram has a gorgeous one called Kiss and Tell. They failed, at least in this little period, to find an audience. And I'm very curious why that is.
There is something that, like, I think an editor somewhere said that music, maybe it was you that told me this, Zach, music books just don't sell. There's like music books, theater books, and
interesting
sports books where it's a boy. Sports books about boys specifically. Sports books about girls sell.
Right.
Oh, that's
Sports
so
books
interesting. I guess
boys do not.
Sports books about boys, everyone's like, and that's just life. So.
Right.
Exactly. Like, I don't really actually feel like I need to read a fictionalized story about that.
Right. Yeah. It's because they're very successful, like adult examples, right? Like Daisy Jones and the Six. I mean, that's not quite the same thing, but yeah, it's a fascinating kind of like, low. It doesn't sell super well in young adults for whatever reason. So I'm always like, it would make such a fun TV show, and it's super dramatic. And I'm always like, I hope readers find that one. But it's so it's interesting to go from one that Major Detours was did a pretty well considering, and then Popstar definitely didn't do quite as well.
Did you feel like the interactive novel? Do you think that that already kind of limits your sales? Because there's some people who are like, oh, well, I don't want to do that, because they're automatically thinking, oh, well, this is like a choose your own adventure, don't sue us story. So they're thinking, oh, well, this is going to be something that I'll finish in like one afternoon because I'm not actually reading the whole book. I'm just skipping around. Or they may not even want to skip around. They may just I just want a linear story where it's like this.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's two things, right? So like Running Press itself is always figuring out their space in fiction, and they're a little bit like an indie imprint within Hachette. So there's that. And then the interactive thing, I think it was one of those things that, it could really connect or not. And I think the people who found it really love it and understand what it is. But I do think it became a bit of a stumbling, it's not something that catches fire, if it's something that sets you apart differently. I think maybe that, and also when you think of interactive fiction, you maybe think of, Major Detours felt a bit more genre and a bit more, like spooky, right? So it might have been a weird genre thing in people's heads.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
When kids don't play, they grow up without creativity. They'll try to blend in and wear chinos, or worse, polyester chinos. Good thing Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Fruit Roll-Ups are made to be played with. You better be playing.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Introducing the Internet Supreme Court,
a live stream show that casts judgment on anything the internet touches, from memes to billionaires.
We served Elon Musk with a court summons.
He still hasn't responded.
Because he's a coward.
Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're on Twitch and YouTube Live. Find out more at InternetSupremeCourt.com.
That's InternetSupremeCourt.com. We're also on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hear that, Elon? Blue Sky.
Well, speaking of genre, let's go into the third book, which was originally your first book.
Correct. Yeah.
This Pact Is Not Ours. So talk about how that kind of the publishing journey for that, because it was the one that you went to Running Press with, and they said, no, we don't want to do that one, but we want you to write this other one. So, but then you ended up getting This Pact Is Not Ours still published. How'd that work?
Yeah. And that one's kind of like, so again, my favorite stuff, I always think of Sarah Michelle Gellar as like the ultimate, right? So it was growing up was Cruel Intentions, Buffy, and I Know We Did Last Summer were like three of the most important things to me and like reflect my own tastes as a writer generally. So I'm not a huge horror guy, but I love suspense and I love slashers and I love psychological horror. So I think Haunting of Hill House was really in the air when I was writing this one. Also,
best.
The best ever. So it's about 4 teens at a kind of family summer camp, which is something my family's gone to every year. It's this place up on Lake George where you like stay in a cabin and go to the cafeteria and their activities. And so it's about 4 teens of families that have been going up their whole lives. So they have all these complicated relationships, and they find out the reason that this place they've been going their whole lives is so beautiful and special is because there's this pact that their 4 families are bound to, and they have to pay a pretty diabolical price for the beauty. So that's the, without getting too spoilery, that is not a word, but we'll use it anyway.
It's today.
Sure it is.
Great.
Any word's a word when you say it.
Exactly. Especially when you're an author. You just make it a thing.
Exactly. You guys are the authority on words.
Words, exactly. So that's what that novel is. And it's kind of, a psychological thriller where it's somewhere between Buffy and I Know We Did Last Summer. So there's a lot of like chasing and monster hunting and all that stuff. So originally we went out with it with my 2 agents ago. Beloved agent Lucy, we went out with it. It just didn't sell, but Major Detours got set up, and so I did Major Detours, and so you want to be a pop star. And somewhere along there, my agent, who I love and miss, decided she was going to focus fully on her adult list and no longer do young adult. And I was in a place where I wanted to stay in young adult, so we parted ways very amicably. I hope to work with her again someday. But anyway, had to find a new agent. So I forget the order. Very, very, the order of this was that I was waiting on sub, which it took me like a year to find another agent, which I was not expecting after I had published 2 books and had an option on a third, and was like, surely I'll get gobbled up in a week. And I actually went out on sub the same time Adam Sass, another wonderful YA author, did. And he had like 3 offers within a week. And I was like, well, here I am. It's been a year. No one wants me. But in that process, I self-submitted the manuscript for This Pact Is Not Ours to a wonderful independent queer YA press called Tiny Ghost Press. And the same day that they made an offer, I got accepted by my now agent Mo Ferrara, who is at Triada now. Anyway, it was a big day because it was like, these start after a year of thinking I was out of the business, these 2 things kind of came together at once. So So This Pact Is Not Ours was a self-submission while I was like unagented and, working on the proposal for Love and Video Games, basically. And so Tiny Ghost is we could talk a bit about it. I love writing for them. It's interesting because I think to the consumer, it all looks the same these days, right? Like all of Tiny, they distribute through Ingram. So when you Google me, they come up right along, Barnes and Noble, all the booksellers, it comes up right alongside my others. So you can't really tell that it's a traditional publisher versus an indie publisher.
Yeah.
And, with Amazon self-publishing, it's like what goes viral with books these days. The field is so much more open, which is nice. And the downside is that obviously authors are expected to self-promote, which I hate. But, but the upside is that you can reach readers, and indie presses like Tiny Ghost can kind of compete alongside the big five. And they're an interesting one because they have half a foot in being an indie publisher and half a foot in being a traditional publisher because of the distribution and the printing. So, that's how
they're like they do really well with marketing, I feel like, because I've seen, like, I just went to their website and I have seen like all of these books either on shelves somewhere, or like I've seen them being like popping up on social media and stuff. And for a lot of indie presses, it's not like that. Like they don't have, they'll just be like, oh, we're just going to publish all of these books and then see what hits, because they're trying to like just figure out something. Like they're trying to get one thing to hit. And then I feel like Tiny Ghost tries to make everything hit. They're like very selective about what they're choosing to put out. They're not just pushing out a bunch of things that have like these fake covers from AI or Photoshop even. Like they have real artwork. They hire artists to do it.
In dealing with Tiny Ghost, it's the same process as when I'm dealing with Hachette in terms of, the editorial cover. It so really functions like, and part of what drew me to them was that, like you, just being plugged into YA social media, I saw them everywhere. Their first book, Running with the Alpha, it was a werewolf male romance that like was a huge hit, so it kind of helped them launch having that first book. But it's been the only difference, and I will say it does make a difference for sales, is that it's like places like Barnes and Noble and libraries won't, right? They have those relationships with the traditional publishers. So a Barnes and Noble could stock any of these books, right? They have access to them, but they're not necessarily they haven't waded into, and even indie bookstores haven't super waded into the space where they're putting indie booksellers like that on the shelves yet. If it's a book's a hit, they'll put it on the shelf. But so I will say there's a difference in the sales in terms of, there's just not the physical presence, but I think the social media presence of the indie press has been way more impressive compared to my traditional publisher, just because they're dealing with, 150 books a year, whereas like Tiny Ghost has 2, maybe 3 come out in a year that they're really curating. So I love straddling. I love being in both worlds. I think it's wild to get to see what works on both sides of the publishing fence.
Yeah. And I've told like other authors who have only been published traditionally, and like they'll have stuff where maybe people are like dragging their feet where they're not offering on something, and they're like, oh, this is weird. Why aren't they offering? I have this sales track record. And it's like, because a lot of publishers just they're only publishing what they think they can sell right now. And it's like, there are going to be indie publishers who are like, hey, I see this hitting not right now, but I see it hitting at some point, and I do think that it will sell steadily until that moment hits, and then we can jump on it.
And
I've seen that happen. I mean, there's there's a small press, I think, called Zandos, I want to say.
Okay.
They do adult romance, and I think now they are a part of like a bigger publisher, but like before they weren't. And they published The Butcher and Blackbird, which is like a dark romance about serial killers falling in love while they're doing this competition to kill people. And like that became an like instant bestseller after it blew up on TikTok. And then all of a sudden Barnes and Noble was like, okay, we'll start stocking this.
Yeah. It's what I recently got into a writer named Andrew Rowe, and his first book is called Sufficiently Advanced Magic. And it's totally self-published by him, like through Amazon. And it's got like crazy high reviews on Goodreads, and it's one of the things where it's just like it found its audience. And so it's hopeful to see that if you write a good book that connects with an audience on social media, it can become its own thing. So and Tiny Ghost is very committed. They have a clear brand. It's all queer YA with a speculative twist, and especially given I don't know how much you've talked about this, and YA book sales, at least internally to publishers, it's been a very challenging time. Most authors I know are having a really hard time selling queer YA books, and Tiny Ghost is committed to always publishing that. And they are based in the UK, actually, so they're a bit removed while America is their main market, they're a bit removed from the politics that we're subject to here. So without wading too deep into dark territory, it's nice to know that there's someone out there,
about book banning.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of reasons why he's in a tough spot right now, and that's just one of them. But there are one or two YA authors we know, Erik, that have Tiny Ghost books. They've made the jump to Tiny Ghost. They just haven't announced them or signed the contracts yet. So I think it'll become a beautiful hub for a lot of us.
That's exciting because I'm writing a horror novel for my my fifth one. It's my option right now, and I have not sent it in to my editor yet. But if they deny it, at least I know I do have a backup.
Send it on over to Tiny Ghost. And also, I should say, Josh, the editor and CEO there, is like, at least for me, we have like a creative mind meld. So I adore working with him. He's so lovely and smart. And it's one of those editors where like every single note I agree with and like want to take, which is so rare, I find. So
it's important too, because it's like you have to, if you get an editor that you're like, what the hell are they talking about? It's like, you can't get a good book out of that.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to trust your editor and be like, okay, I'm open to everything that you're saying. You have to at least be open, I think. You don't have to choose it to take every single thing. But.
Yeah. So I do have another Tiny Ghost book coming out, I think in April, and it hasn't been announced yet, which is crazy because I sold it to them like a year and a half ago on proposal. But it's called So Superb It's Killing Me. And it's like kind of magical dark academia where people develop magic and it ends up crippling sports because a lot of the magic has to do with like physical enhancement. So anyway, it kind of like Legends of Korra battle arena sport comes up, and it's a varsity high school team that's like in this magical battle arena sport. So anyway, that's the next thing. I haven't actually said any of that out loud yet, so I don't know if it makes sense. But I'm actually working on editing it right now, so that's why it's on my brain.
Do you have anything else? Is that the only thing that you're working on right now? Do you have anything
I like many others, I'm working on a pivot to adult. I'm kind of like going to make the jump to hopefully being an adult author, and I'm focusing on urban fantasy, so like hard magic systems, and I'm very into V. Schwab and that kind of her version of urban fantasy. So I'm trying to do that with gay men, basically. I
was just talking about the invisible life of Addie LaRue.
Yep. Yeah, Addie LaRue, I think. Yeah,
Addie LaRue. I was just talking about that book this morning. Such a cool concept. I love it.
It was, and I love the way that she writes. And I just finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which is her top.
Oh, I have that.
It is.
I didn't realize that was her.
Yeah,
I bought that book like just reading. I do this thing called Book of the Month, and so every month they like give me like what. And so I read just like the description of it, and I saw the title, and I was like, "And sold." But I didn't realize. Oh.
Yeah, so it's beautifully written. It's dark. I mean, I don't know if you're both Buffy heads, but it's like
vampires.
Yeah, and it's like Drusilla. Like if three Drusillas were running around through the centuries, like that's like they're not quite as mental health isn't quite, but they're vicious and doing some really awful things to the world and to each other. So she gets a bit more historical. Like she loves writing these sweeping, multi-century things. So I'm staying kind of rooted in the contemporary. But the fun thing about the next Tiny Ghost book and the adult fantasies I'm working on is that I'm tying them back to the universe I built and all the interactive game books. Ooh. So they're all going to relate. I don't know if anyone will care about that, but that's the goal right now.
The Sergiverse.
The Sergiverse.
Which I swear, I love that term. I did not come up with that. That was someone on Twitter and I stole it. But yeah, that's...
God, I thought I just came up with it.
No, it's on his website.
It's on my,
Is it really?
It's on the website.
I know your website, Zach. I'm sorry.
No, but this is great because even if people didn't already know that the Sergiverse existed, now they're going to know it from the adults to young adult pipeline that you've created.
So the goal is to kind of tie it all together and bring people back. And the interesting thing about all the print novels that I wrote, right, is that especially at Running Press, the mandate there is contemporary fiction only. So that's why Major Detour is Popstar and Love and Video Games. They all have these kind of genre things, but theoretically everything has to be happening in the contemporary world. I couldn't actually write like a fantasy novel for them.
Right.
So it feels nice to kind of be pivoting back. Like my heart is with these, kind of like, and I actually I think of it as science fiction, but I'm trying to learn a lot about how fantasy works and sells and realize like everything I write can just, if I put a different code on it and call it fantasy, it'll it'll maybe connect with audiences better. So that's the project right now. It's ambitious, and we'll see if anyone cares, but I'm having fun doing it. So.
There's 2 more things I want to ask you before we let you go. Right. The first, we were at the Long Island University Summer Writing Festival.
Yes.
You were organizing it, and yes. I also hosted a panel for you. While we were there, I asked the question that we always ask on this: if you are a plotter or a pantser. And Kat Cho was on my panel, and she's talked about how George R.R. Martin actually says that plotting and pantsing is not what writers do. There's an architect and a gardener.
Oh.
An architect basically has a blueprint and has the structure of their story, and everything is there, and then they basically go to put it on the page, and it's pretty much exactly as the blueprint that they came up with. But a gardener will just plant seeds and see what grows as they are writing. And I was like, as she was explaining it, I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes more sense.
It's
than
gorgeous.
A
yeah,
pantser.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
So now I have totally changed to architect or gardener. So
yes.
Now I want to know what you are,
yes.
Zach.
And also, was this during there were 4 panels that day, so they all bled together for me. But someone, I think it might have been Zoraida Cordova, talked about being a headlighter. Have you heard of this?
What is that?
Headlighter is you would outline like 6 chapters in advance, for example. So like as far as your headlights see, you're plotting, and then you get there, and then you plot the next chunk, and then you plot the next chunk.
Got it.
So the answer is that I, especially because of the interactive novels in the beginning, I am an aggressive plotter / architect, like to the point where it became like my outlines were as long as the novel ended up being. So as I've written more, I've tried to step back because, I feel like authors either identify as ADHD or OCD. I certainly fall on the, non-clinical OCD side of things. So I've tried as I've gotten older and to have a plan and know what the ending is, but not plot it so heavily that I'm bored while I'm writing it. So I think I've become a headlighter where it's like, okay, I know what the ending is, and I just need to know what the next few chapters are. But I am the type of writer, I can't sit down and write a chapter if I don't know what is the point, what are we accomplishing here. So I do have very intense outlines before I start writing, and my outlines almost end up I trick myself into writing a chapter via outline first. So I'll have like dialogue and like beat by beat, and then I kind of like flesh it out and bring it to life. I'm not the type of writer, and this is why I was in TV first. I don't naturally stop to like describe things, and I'm not good with atmosphere on a first draft. So I'm leaving more room for that as I evolve. So I'm making my way towards being a pantser. The adult fantasy I'm writing, I know the very ending and I know the first half, but I don't really know what happens in the interim, and that's very unusual for me. So I'm trying to enjoy the process. It's terrifying though. I don't like it. I like being a control freak way better.
I'm going to say, I think that it is, and what I am now too, it's a nighttime gardener. That's what I'm going to call it, because you have a flashlight. You're out there with the flashlight. You're throwing some seeds down, but you're only doing it as far as your flashlight goes. So it's like a headlighter and a gardener all at one. It's a midnight gardener. Midnight gardener,
except that I'm a banker writer where like I'm a 9 to 5. Like I think I was texting you about
scheduling. It doesn't have to be
this.
the time. It's just it's nighttime. It's the morning in winter in like Sweden.
Great,
so it's dark all the time. How about that?
I love it. Great.
There's no shortage for the way that we have described the method of writing, and it's just so like, and it makes sense because y'all are just so good with imagery that you're like, actually, it's morning gardening with mist on the window. Yeah, it's like, it expands a little bit every time we do this show.
Absolutely, we can't help ourselves.
It's so great. It's so great. I love it.
Last questions. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? So I just finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I also just finished The Compound by, I have no idea how to say this person's name, Ainsling Rawle, I think is. But it's written almost like in the style of like a Joan Didion or like Margaret Atwood Handmaid's Tale dystopia. But it's about a Love Island / Big Brother-esque reality show. So it's all these hot people dumped on a compound in a dystopia, and they have to like hook up to survive, basically. But it's written with all the severity of like, you know, like a Joan Didion piece. So it's very high-low. I was obsessed with that book. And then I'm working my way through Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe, which is that self-published one. It's about a magical... It basically was pitched to me as like, if you want to read, you know, Harry Potter but don't want to support J.K. Rowling, go read this book instead. And it's written by a literal Dungeons and Dragons master, so it has that vibe to it. But yeah, and then I'm also finishing up Volatile Memory, which is a sci-fi novella by Seth Haddon, which is also very good.
How many things at once? I only read one book at a time.
I know. I'm like doing like a month recap, and I was also just on like a mini vacation, so I had a lot of. I'm a slow reader, but I just like when I'm on vacation, all I do is read. So that's why there's so many swirling right now.
Well, it was lovely talking with you. Thank you for coming in and sharing your midnight garden with us, I guess. Or your, I guess. No, I think that I'm going to say Midnight Garden because you're trying not to outline so much. So
exactly,
that's appropriate.
Yeah, Midnight Garden indeed.
Well, everybody, you can buy all of Zach's books wherever books are sold. This Pact Is Not Ours. You should check it out. But also, you should check out So You Want to Be a Pop Star because
that one needs the most love. Yeah.
It's a sleeper hit. It's a sleeper hit. People need to start picking it up.
Yes, it's very Swiftie coded. So if you're in that space, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, see, it's just in time for Life of a Showgirl to come out. There you go.
I I'm a Max Martin disciple, so I could not be more excited.
You and I both, sir. Both thrilled.
Cannot wait.
All right,
Thank
Zach,
you so much.
See you later.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye, Zach.
When she asked me how far we can take it, I tell her we can take it across the entire universe. You are my universe, not just a
All right, done. Of course, as soon as we start talking to do the outro, the dogs start barking. What are you reading right now?
Okay, I am reading...
Have you broken your reading slump? Because I feel like the last time we talked, you were still like...
I broke my reading slump. And what has helped me the most is audiobooks. And I totally forgot that you can get audiobooks on Spotify, which is really helpful because you don't have to have like a separate app. And it helps because anytime I open my Spotify to listen to something else, I'm like, or a lovely story, perhaps, or a gorgeous story. And so I am listening to The God of the Woods right now.
Oh, I have that audiobook too.
Do you? Did you start it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. It's really good. It's so funny because I started a show on Netflix called, oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but the story is about a person who goes missing in the woods, and the God of the Woods is also about someone who goes missing in the woods, but it's like summer camp vibes. So I'm getting some of my like characters confused. So I had to stop the Netflix show. So I'll finish the audiobook first. But I also started reading, I have it over there and I can't remember the title because I literally have read like 6 pages of it so far. I just started it. But also, look at me reading 2 books at once.
Oh.
It's been a while.
Can't keep a Netflix and a book separate, but you can read 2 books.
Yeah. So the one I have, Among Friends by Hal Ebbett. And it's I don't really know what it's about yet, but I know that it's like sort of it's not a thriller, it's not a romance, it's a story about friends. Okay, anyway, it's a story about friends and I can't wait to read it. Continue. What are you reading?
I'm reading about Among Friends by Hal Ebbett. It does sound good. I think I've seen this cover too.
Yeah, the cover is really pretty.
So I am reading a book called Tilt by Emma Petit, and I think I only have like 10 pages left. I think this might be the fastest I've ever read a book. It's very short. It's like, let's see, 220 some pages.
Okay.
It's about this woman who is in Portland, Oregon, and she's 37 weeks pregnant. She's at IKEA picking out a crib, and do you know what the Cascadia earthquake is?
No.
So it's like it's something that happens every 500 years, and we're, I think, overdue for it. But it happens on the western coast of the United States, and it's the Cascadia fault zone.
Yeah.
So it's like every 500 years, there's like a massive earthquake, and they think the last one was, I think it was about like maybe 450 to 600 years ago. And they said there was nothing to measure it at the time, but they said based on all of the geology and research that they've done, it was probably over like a 9.4, which is like, it would have been probably the hardest earthquake ever recorded. And so they say this happens every 500 years. And so she's at IKEA and this earthquake happens, and it basically just destroys all of Portland. She is now trapped at IKEA without her phone, with no money. She can't drive anywhere because all of her stuff is piled under debris. She's 37 weeks pregnant, and so she starts walking to her husband's. He works at a cafe. He's an actor, but like works at a cafe. She starts walking to this cafe to find him, and it's just about her journey to find her husband. And it's like, it kind of flashes back to all of the decisions she has made in her life, specifically with their relationship and the choices that they've made. They're both artists. She's a writer. He's a actor. And it's like how they prioritize their relationships or their art or all of this other stuff. And it's also just about humanity. And it's like really, really just well written. It's easy to read. And it's funny. It's like dry humor.
Yeah.
But because it's like, it is a disaster. There's dead people all over the place. But like, it's just about like survival and kind of dealing with all this shit and not knowing what's going to happen. Just a really, really cool book. I liked it a lot. I think you should read it.
Love. Okay, I put it on my TBR. That sounds so interesting. That's also really my biggest nightmare. Having an earthquake while I'm on the West Coast.
Especially at 37 weeks pregnant.
Oh my God. Also, as you were explaining the premise, I was like, would I get a crib at IKEA? Because if you have to build it, I'm like,
Well, that was so like the whole beginning is that she and her husband had a fight, like an argument, because he was gonna go and take this understudy part in a play, and it's just an understudy. There's no guarantee that he's actually going to be on, because he was an understudy for the understudy backed out, so now he's the understudy.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's like, oh well, I can either go to work and make money, or I can go and do this free rehearsal. And she's like, what are you doing? Go to work. Stop putting your head in the clouds. I'm 37 weeks pregnant. We need money. Go to work. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And so it's like tough. She had that argument, and then she's like, I'm going to go buy this crib, which we've been putting off. I'm going to take it back to the house, and I'm going to put it all together before he even gets home tonight. He's going to be
37 weeks, buying a crib at 37 weeks. That is dicey.
Like I would be like, because like as she's explaining how she's going to do this, I'm like, girl, I'm tired already. And I'm not even pregnant.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But it's great. And it's like, it's also, it's a disaster book, but it's not like, it's not about the disaster itself. It's more just about everybody's kind of reaction to it and like how you're going on living, even though you're kind of stuck without society at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's not a world ending thing. It's just the West Coast is kind of fucked up a little bit.
Right. So. Wow. So interesting. Oh, okay. You're reading a good one.
I think you'll love it.
It's on my TBR.
Can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
I can't wait to share them. Well, thank you so much for listening. Go to Instagram, and go to I always want to say Instagram.com. Go to Instagram, which is surely an app on your phone because it's 2025, and follow us at YAOK Podcast. And feel free to send us a message and let us know what you are reading. And I think that's all I got. Anything else?
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.